Toonami is a program that introduced many of us to different animes and cartoons growing up, and in that program there may have been some shows that were forgotten about. In this video we will be talking about 12 shows you forgot about that aired on Toonami. Number 12 is Mayor. In this show, Genta dreams of a magical world every night, wanting to go there until he gets transported to the world of Mayor by an extremely powerful artifact called the Gatekeeper Clown. The show became a part of Toonami in 2006 to 2007. It aired out of order and it only had 16 total episodes that were shown. I don't remember too much about this show, but it was kinda interesting at times. It had its silly moments and some cool fights. Number 11 is Ronin Warriors. It was shown on Toonami in 1999 and is about 5 champions in mystical armor who are trying to defeat the Dark Emperor and his 4 warlords. I briefly remember watching this anime, but the armors look cool, the time period that they're in, and the samurai theme, it just looks nice. Number 10 is Zoi's New Century. It premiered on Toonami in 2001, which this is the second show in the series, while Zoi's Chaotic was the first one that got shown later on after this. The story takes place after Zoi's Chaotic Century. The Zoids aren't used for warfare, but instead the combative nature of both Zoids and humans are focused and contained by a series of battle competitions and tournaments. That is ran by the Zoids Battle Commission. I remember checking this show out. I like animes that had robots in them. This was around the time when I had first watched Gundam Wing, so seeing this was fun. Seeing all the different Zoid battles that was going on, then the main character Big Cloud go to the hover cargo to change out parts for the Zoid to go back into battle, it was cool to see the change up. And once he went back into the battle, you already know it was about to be a good fight. At number 9 is Dot Hack San. The series focuses on a Wave Master, a player character of a VR MMORPG called The World. The main character suffered from short-term memory loss and is unable to log out from the game, so with other players he embarks on a quest to figure out what's going on. Despite being a fantasy quest type adventure, it doesn't rely on action sequences. Instead, the show is driven by mystery, slowly revealing secrets in the show to the viewer while paying attention to the individual characters. The show did premiere on Toonami Super Saturday from February 1st, 2003 to February 22nd, 2003, so it was only on there for about a month. During that time frame, I think they were showing Dragon Ball Z reruns, but to be honest, I haven't seen this series before. I've heard of the name, but it seems like it was a good show, but y'all let me know in the comments, what did you think about it? Number 8 is Outlaw Star. It revolves around the protagonist Gene Starwind and his crew who have inherited a ship called the Outlaw Star. They're on the lookout for a legendary space treasure trove called the Galactic Ley Line. The show premiered on Cartoon Network weekday afternoon Toonami in January 2001 and finished in February 2001. Then reruns were shown on Toonami 5:30 time slot, which was around the time when I first saw the show. Thinking back on it, it was a pretty good show. I did rewatch some of it some years back. You got your comedic moments, but it does have some emotional ones as well, whether it has to deal with what happened with Gene's dad or Melfina. Overall, I like space-themed animes. It's cool to see them travel around in a ship and just do a bunch of stuff. For number 7 is Big O. 40 years prior to the events of the show, the world was turned into a vast desert wasteland, and the people who made it, they were left without memories. The story takes place in Paradigm City. Big O deals with the nature of memories in the city where they mean much more. Memories embody the lost knowledge of his residents and can take the form of records from before the event and more. In a way, Roger Smith kind of reminds you of Bruce Wayne, and the different situations that he gets into revolving around the different citizens is interesting, and the music for this show, it just fits and it sounds great. Number 6 is Tini Muyo. It focuses on Tenchi Masaki, who's just been living his normal life until he accidentally releases the space pirate Ryoko from a cave she was sealed in 700 years ago. The first 2 OVA series of Tini Muyo, excluding the 13th episode, premiered on Cartoon Network's Toonami block from July 3rd, 2000 to July 19, 2000. In the series, there are 4 other alien women who show up at the Masaki household as Tenchi learns about his heritage that he never knew about. This show has a wild bunch of characters in it, each one with their own personalities that add to the show, and it's hilarious to see them fight over Tenchi or just something random. It's also interesting learning about the backstory of Tenchi's heritage, about what he is and where some of his family came from. At number 5 is Duel Masters. It follows Shobu, who loves to play the trading card game called Duel Masters. For many, the card game is just a fun game, but for others, it's much more. A few elite players can actually bring the card creatures to life. Doing that requires discipline as well as a type of martial art. With everything going on, Shobu is searching for his missing father. Along the way, he meets some other people, some good and some bad. The show aired on Toonami from 2004 to 2006. I rewatched a few episodes and it was pretty cool. It has its good moments, but some of the dialogue just isn't as funny as it was before, or it's not for me. Back then, I was watching a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! And Duel Masters is its own thing, just like how Yu-Gi-Oh! Is, but it was fun to see another show that had its own card game and seeing the duels that took place. Number 4, this cartoon got watched as soon as it was on TV, and that is Megas XLR. Basically, there's a war between Earth and an alien race in the future. The human resistance end up taking a robot, but it gets sent way back into the past, farther than they were supposed to send it. Which means the pilot Kiva has to go find it. Eventually, years later, one of the characters named Coop ends up finding it and working on it, and then he shows it off to his friend Jamie. Sometime after that, Kiva arrives, and so do the aliens eventually. The pilot of the show aired on Toonami as a sneak peek of the series on the final day of Giant Robot Week, which was on February 23rd, 2003. Then the full series premiered on May 1st, 2004 to March 19, 2005. It only lasted 2 seasons, but to be fair, it honestly wasn't that bad of a show. For the show, I like how they made Coop and Jamie just regular people. That's not a bad thing, like they're relatable in a way. Plus, bruh, they're in a robot with a car on top controlling it in different battles. And during those battles, it looks like Coop is having fun while he's fighting. He does get serious at times, but it's fun seeing him fight using different moves like from video games, wrestling, and more. At number 3 is Rave Master. War broke out between two kingdoms. One has the evil Darkbrain stones, so 5 Rave stones were created to be used by one person called the Rave Master, who at the time was Sheba, but 15 years later, the main character of the show that we see, who is Haru, ends up becoming a new successor. I gotta say, I remember watching this back then on Toonami, and it was a good anime. There were some funny moments, interesting fights, because the people he faces have their own way of fighting. So those fights weren't boring because each one had their own abilities, and you got to see how he was able to defeat certain opponents. The people he meets along the way in his journey are pretty cool. I seen a few episodes before making the video, and the music in that anime was on point. An anime that has a good soundtrack is always a good addition to the show and the experience when you watch it. Just like the other shows in this video, I like the old style and look of this anime. It just takes you back in time to maybe when you first started watching anime. At number 2 is The Prince of Tennis. It follows Ryoma, a tennis prodigy who attends an academy. It's like a private school famous for its strong tennis club and talented players. The show premiered on Toonami in December 2006 to May 2007 and was promoted alongside Mare, an anime that was mentioned earlier in this video. I remember I was hyped to watch this show. Around that time, I hadn't watched any sports anime before, so to see this pop up, it caught my attention. Anytime this show was on TV, it got watched. It was exciting to see them play tennis, and some of those matches got intense. It was great to see Ryoma's journey with tennis throughout the series, and I don't see a lot of people talking about this anime, but it was another good one to watch. At number 1 is Zatch Bell. This show follows Kyo and Zatch adventures, meeting friends, and battling enemies. Zatch is from a different world, and some of them were sent to Earth to battle it out to be the next king. They have to pair up with a human who has to use a spell book that has powers that they could use. The show first aired on March 2005 to January 2007, showing 52 episodes. Then after a brief hiatus from Toonami, the series came back for a second run from May 2006 to January 2007. Only 25 additional episodes were aired for the second run. Zatch Bell was a show that has some good moments. Kyo and Zatch are funny. You're bound to laugh at them doing something silly at one point or another. The battles were tough and entertaining to watch, especially when they unlocked a new power and they were trying to figure out how to win some of their fights. Another thing that made the show good was seeing the brotherly bonds between Kyo and Zatch and how each of the characters grew throughout the show and seeing the different struggles and stuff that they had to go through but somehow managed. Talking about these different shows took me back in time. Some of these shows even I forgot about. But y'all let me know in the comment section what are some of the Toonami shows that you think are forgotten about, whether it was on this list or not.